tab and you can start now.
Hello everyone, a very good evening ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rohit Kumar and welcome to the third and the last day of the Concord, the Plinth for Innovation. As you guys might know, the Entrepreneurship Cell is India's largest student-run entrepreneurship promoting body that provides a vibrant platform for the encouraging entrepreneurship at IIT and conducts year-round activities like lecture series, workshop, hackathons, and whatnot, the business plan competitions to promote entrepreneurial culture. We all love exciting prizes, don't we? Participating in the contest and win exciting prizes. All you need to know is to capture your Concord moment and post them on your LinkedIn and Instagram account. You can share your learnings, your quote from your favorite speaker. You can share your day-to-day formula to stay innovative, or maybe you can share your picture with your laptop or even screenshots. But don't forget to use the hashtags hashtag Concord, hashtag Play for Innovation, and hashtag #ECell_IIT Bombay. Exciting prizes are waiting for you all, and more in store for the winners. We all know how networking helps one stay at the top of the latest trend in the industry. Networking has never been more essential. We have got you an opportunity to start networking right here in the Concord event. All you need to know is to wait till the end of the speaker session, after which we will open the launch for the networking. So far, we have learned from brand building to digital disruption, from decoding industry to social entrepreneurship. But hey, you know what? We have saved the best thing for the last. We have all heard the famous quote: ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. We as an entrepreneur always want to give back and do something for the society. But questions such as will these activities require a lot of money, or will we have to sacrifice our own career, hold us back? But you know what? There is zero fund organization that distributed surplus food from restaurants to the hungry people in the developing countries. Yes, I'm talking about the Robin Hood Army. And today we are fortunate enough to have Mr. Neil Ghosh, the founder of the Robin Hood Army, as a guest speaker. So without any further delay, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Rohit, and thank you so much for having me here. It's a little strange because I can't see who I'm talking to, so that's always something which, like most of the conversations we have about the Robin Hood Army, is very interactive, and it's more like we ask a bunch of questions and then we build off on that. But we'll make the most of what we have right now. So maybe the way we'll structure this is the next uh, 15 odd minutes. I'll give you a brief of the Robin Hood story and how we built it, and then maybe we can just have a more interactive live session where folks who are streaming in can ask questions and we can like bounce off that. Uh, so again, quick introduction. Uh, I I lead an organization called Robin Hood Army. It's what I do in my free time. Before this, I worked in Zomato for many years. My job was to set up our international markets, and currently I drive online partnerships for Google Pay. In the middle of that, I went for my MBA to Harvard, and the whole point of like me putting out this resume is that uh, the Robin Hood Army has been something we've always been building along with all these things which I've been doing. And the idea is that like there's always a kind of narrative that, oh, like you need to really focus on your career and then everything will come after that. And I think my intention in the next 15 minutes is to kind of dispel that myth. And while you're building out whatever you want to do and whatever you want to love, and why you build out your career, you can keep helping people who need it most. So again, let's step out and like go to when this was probably June or July 2014. And again, my role in Zomato was like launching our international markets. So I spent around 9 to 12 months in each market. Like I lived there, I'd build out the first team. We take business to a certain level, and then I go on to the next one. So I was living in Lisbon, Portugal, and one of our strategies was every time we go into a new market, we do a lot of partnerships with local credible organizations. And the idea behind doing that is just that like we kind of have like build a kind of goodwill with people who already know organizations which are trusted there. So in Zomato, we partnered with this organization called ReFood, and what they do is actually the same thing which the Robin Hood Army does. Is they collected volunteers in their free time, collected surplus food from restaurants, and they give it to the less fortunate. And honestly, till then, I'd done nothing altruistic besides your regular NSS stuff in college or whatever. But I just found the idea really, really simple. It was pretty obvious. Kafi, like, this just made sense. So I spent some time with the founder, and I spent some time with the team trying to understand what they do, how they build, how do they structure their teams, how do they mobilize volunteers. And when I came back to India, this was August 2014, along with two of my friends, Arushi and Anand, we decided to get something started in a very small scale. Now, the Robin Hood idea is essentially the same. Volunteers are doctors, lawyers, engineers, students, retired citizens, basically all walks of life. Uh, and volunteers in their free time collect surplus food from restaurants and communities and give it to the less fortunate. Now, your less fortunate will be homeless people, orphanages, old age homes, uh, people who are destitute, who live on the streets, and so on and so forth. And the whole idea is that you're not just giving the food to them, but you're getting to know them, you're talking to them, you're making them laugh, and you're basically engaging with them in the most human way possible. Like, we think of it less as charity and more as like trying to get to know people. Now, how does it work? You know, and think of it as a hyperlocal model. You guys are familiar with Bombay, so maybe in a Bombay has 32 different neighborhood chapters. So let's say in a Powai, the food comes from restaurants in Powai. The volunteers are residents of Powai, and the less fortunate are homeless people, orphanages, old age homes around Powai. So basically, you're looking after your immediate community area or catchment area, and that's how it kind of works. We build now one very, very, very key part of the Robin Hood Army is there's no money involved. There is absolutely zero funds, and the whole idea is like earlier it was a very moral decision that you hear a lot of stigma about like what happens with the money raised in impact organizations, but now it's purely strategic. I think our biggest differentiator is because there's no money involved. Now, maybe the easiest way of showing you guys how the Robin Hood Army works is just opening up some screens, and I'll just share my screen for a second. Rohit, that works, right?
Yes, sir. You can.
Okay, perfect. I'm guessing you all can see my screen right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So if you this is the Robin Hood Army India Instagram page, right? So there are 126,000 followers. There are volunteers in different parts of the world who are wearing green t-shirts like the one I'm wearing right now, and we're putting it out. And like the idea is not to share the sufferings, or the idea is not to show how less fortunate these people are. The idea is just to show basic human engagement, and this drives the top of a funnel. So through this, a good like thousands of people sign up across like right now we're in 13 different countries, and we basically get them into the Robin Hood Army family. Now, what we share here is also stuff like uh, suppose we're launching in Chennai, or suppose we have like let's say there was a news article in the Indian Express, or we had a collaboration with Filter Copy, so or another news article. So anything which happens, and some very, very powerful images like this, like this is in Bongaigaon in Assam, and like there was a lot of like flood situation there. So these are Robins again. Every single person is doing this in their free time. So this is how we kind of bring the top of the funnel. Now the whole point is like when you think about the Robin Hood Army, you think about like a non-profit, but honestly, we think about it like a startup. Like it's like the size of hunger is massive. We're barely scratching the surface. So to like actually help people, we have to grow disruptively. When I say to grow disruptively, what do I mean? Like we have metrics and we have dashboards and we have like things to look at data, just the way like any other growth stage organization would have. So social media drives the top of the funnel. Volunteer management is like suppose someone signs up, how many of them are coming for a first drive, how many of them are coming 6 months later. And again here I can go at a very micro level. So I can let's say I want to see what's happening in UP and MP, and then my data pulls up here, and then maybe as a strategist I'll be looking at, okay, like what really happened in Bijnor, why did it grow by 276%, like so I look at data points which kind of like stand out. Again, like everything is decentralized, everyone does it in their free time, but like the way it's decentralized is, if you look at this is every single Robin Hood Army chapter. They have either a WhatsApp group, or they have a Facebook group where they share everything. So you can see Aurangabad, Hyderabad, Meerut, Bhopal, Tezpur. So there are around 150 cities in India, and approximately 30 cities outside of India, spread across like 12 other countries. And everyone works in a very hyper-local, decentralized format. The only rule is there's no money involved. No one can raise money in the name of the organization. Now, everything is decentralized, but at certain times we come together, and all the teams, all the chapters come together to do something really, really special, or so really, really large scale. And we bring together media houses, we bring together corporates, and we try to like really address a current problem. So let's say like here, just wanted to show we had something called Mission 30M, where again, without raising any funds, the plan was to serve 30 million people from 15 July to 1st July to 15th August. One of our well-wishers was Mr. Bachchan, and we had earlier been featured on KBC, and this is like him wishing us the best of luck. And we also have like so when we finally ended up like in 6 weeks, we didn't end up serving 30 million people. We saw 23 million people, but he actually like put out a thank you to his supporters for actually coming and putting it out. So I think like the whole idea is because everyone does it, it's a very day-to-day thing. It's regular people doing it along with their jobs. Many people relate to it, and they share it, and they kind of like evangelize it. Like that makes the whole zero funds thing very, very powerful here. And I'll share a quick video of what we did in Mission 30M, which will give you a sense of how it works. Waiting for the screen to kind of open up while we speak. There we
reaching to the heavens, hands up high. I do my best to grasp the sky. When we can change the world, we can change the world. We can change the force within a single generation. Standing up for freedom, spreading hope, nation to nation. We can change the world. We can change the world. It doesn't have to be what it is or how it's been. Instead of looking out, we need to turn and look within. We can change the world.
And I guess the last piece here, so this is kind of how the whole mission unfolded and how we kind of brought together like there were a lot of like media partners like ABP and Indian Express and a bunch of other folks. And sorry, that's just also very interesting content. MS Dhoni walking out, but I will deviate. But yeah, so I think like the whole idea was how do you bring civil society to like really help people who need it most, and because there's no money involved, people implicitly trust it. And this is just like a quick like there's parts of our Robin Hood Army deck, and if you see like the people who are volunteers, they're very regular everyday people. The like Rahul is 28 years old. He works in a startup in Delhi. He's now in Bangalore. If you see on the right, Muskan is she's 18, and she's been a volunteer since she was 16 years old, and she set up a Uganda chapter. And Umaji is like a powerhouse. She leads one of our largest chapters. She leads thousands of people in Hyderabad, and like literally people call her Maheshmati from Bahubali. So it's very like it's again people from all walks of life who are just coming together with the one single intent to serve others, along with their careers, along with their family lives, along with everything they're doing. And again, I think like the idea is that one part of it is we can think about it as a food distribution platform that we're just giving food, but the idea is really engaging and getting to know the people we are serving, and through that, uh, kind of building that trust and like trying to see how we can use our resources to make a difference to them. So one key example is like, let's say if you the one you see in the middle, this happened in Pune, and a lot of our senior citizens we are serving, we realized that they had failing eyesight. So what our Robins did, and one of them, his name was Dr. Sunavne, he's a doctor, and he did a camp with his hospital, and they did around 50 odd cataract surgeries, where our Robins took all the people we serve, and they got cataract surgeries done, and like a lot of them improved their eyesight. A couple of them actually got their eyesight back. And for me, that's the real power of the Robin Army. It's not the 60 million people we serve till date. It's not the all the things you see on the press. It's like it basically is a platform for people to bring out the best of humanity using food as a medium. And again, like these are optics, and I'm like, when you build something, whether it's from an altruistic point of view or from if you're building a startup, if you're building a tech company, just remember these things are stepping stones. They're not milestones. They're not achievements. So yes, we're a Harvard case study, and yes, it's taught in Harvard as a as a case in terms of like how to like really understand motivations. But think about this as kind of a stepping stone to get to the next level, but not as an achievement. And that's what I would urge you guys in IIT Bombay, when you guys are building out something, to think about in that lens. Again, like we have no money involved, and every single person does in their free time. So there's no revenue, no office space, no costs. And like, but sometimes people like, what can you possibly do with that, right? And this is what a few of you would probably know how to read a balance sheet by now. And this is kind of our version of our balance sheets. This was just what we did last year, which was 2019. Things have moved a lot since then, but like if you see the debit column, there's rent is zero, wages zero, power zero, office zero. Like there's no costs at all. Everyone's doing it in their free time. But we launched 56 cities. We served 16.5 million people, and we have something called the Robin Hood Academy, where which is kind of a feeder program where we basically take street children and we enroll them into public schools, and we got 896 of them. And if you see the last column here that says 1% down, that's kind of our way of life. Like no matter how big we grow, or no matter what accolades might come from the press or like webinars like this, I think it's very important for us to constantly remember that, like, look, we might be doing good things, but we're still barely scratching the surface of the problem. There are 194 million hungry people in India alone, right? And like serving 16 million people is not enough. So I think like the more we do it, the more we realize we need to kind of like innovate and disrupt our model and just keep thinking ahead, and not be content with where we are. So I think that's high level, like what I had to share. I'll just stop sharing my screen for a second. I'm just trying to figure out how that works. Sorry. Yeah, stop share. And I think like my only like probably last parting shot before we probably get into questions is that you guys are a very impressional age, right? And I think there's already a lot of like expectation being from IIT Bombay as to like what your families think, what the world thinks you think should do, and all of that. My point is, don't take it too seriously. Like yes, there will be a lot of placements and like the McKinsey's and the Bains of the world, and then you guys will like try to get the IIMs or like Stanford or whatever. But my only request and my urge is that be as intentional about helping other people. Like you are a very, very privileged set of people. You have more opportunities than most people in this country. And the whole idea is that use that for something beyond yourselves or beyond your careers. It's very like we have this narrative that like you just need to focus on your career, just need to focus on your CAT exam, or just need to focus on whatever, and then after that you'll see what you can do. But I think like from not just our story, but I would say like a lot of like thousands of stories of all the Robins, we have folks from like the best places, and maybe not the best places, but like they are unified by one common purpose of serving others who need it most. And that would probably be my only request, or my only, like, if there's one thing I want you to take away from the last 20 minutes is you are really, really blessed. You will have, I think Rohit spoke about networking. You will have very, very deep networks. You will have a lot of opportunities. Use those networks, use those opportunities for something beyond your careers, or beyond this thing, because I think that's when I think true self-actualization would happen, so to speak. So I'll take a pause right now. And Rohit, how do you want to do this? Do we want to open it up for questions?
Yes, I can see a couple of questions over there.
Sure, sure.
Like,
Sorry, I can't read the question, so Rohit will have to read it out for me.
so someone is asking, how did you scale that thing to such a big level without any funding?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. And so let's say the first time when we were in Delhi, and we were sharing what we were doing on social media. You guys saw how like people wearing green were going out and giving food. So we got a lot of interest from our friends, our colleagues in other cities, Bangalore, Bombay, Hyderabad, wherever, saying that, Acha, tell us when you come into our cities. And I was, we were two minds. That do we wait till we get Delhi absolutely perfect, or do we just go? Do we just like go for a weekend, fly down to another city, or just like over Zoom or Hangout or whatever, just share them the best practices as to how to start a new chapter? And we're so glad, that time my co-founder Anand, he convinced us to do the latter, because people started doing a much better job than we did, you know. And like Bombay grew at a much faster pace than Delhi ever did, and then we started getting into more countries, we started getting into smaller towns, we started getting into rural India, and we had a dedicated expansion team of people who were earlier chapter heads, then city heads, and now they spend time with people from different parts of the world, coaching them over 6 weeks on how to grow the Robinhood Army. Now, I think so that's like one of our key, that and social media is one of the key things which has helped us grow. And I'd actually say zero funds is the lever. Now, how do I mean by that? Like you saw a gentleman there, Rathi uncle. He was on that deck which I had shared earlier. He does a food drive every single night of the year, right? And he does it not because he thinks that, oh, like I'm part of an NGO which is global and headquarters is in Delhi with Neil who leads it or Arushi who leads it or whatever. For him, it's his own baby. And why is it his own baby? Because no one's making a buck. So because there's so much ownership, like people like him and like thousands of people put their heart and soul into it. And that's why we're like zero funds is such a strong asset. I think the second part is when we do partnerships, right? So we've done partnerships with like a Zomato or an Uber or Viacom or KBC. The pitch is always simple. The pitch is that, look, we're doing this in our free time. There's no money involved. This is our way of going back to the country. Are you in? And when you do that, that just comes with a lot of integrity, and people just implicitly trust that. And then it's not about like, suppose I'm talking to a billboard company. It's not about, can you give me one billboard or two billboards? Like I'm like, okay, you got 500 unsold billboards in this quarter. Give me all of that in the Robinhood Army. Now the valuation of that, if you're talking in business terms, is probably worth $1 million or more. But I only have that leverage because there's no money involved. So now it's almost become strategic. In fact, the Harvard case study which you saw, the question is to keep the Robinhood Armies scaling and to keep the foundation intact. Should they take funds or should they not? In my mind, it's quite clear at this point we should not take funds.
Yes, sir. Sir, one other question is, how do you plan on getting in the smallest city in India?
Right. Call me Neil. Yeah. I'm just a few years older than you. So please don't call me sir.
Okay, sir.
But Neil, yeah, sir, but yeah, as in I think to a certain extent, like we've actually right now we're in 150 cities. So like if you remember the groups I showed you, on Facebook, like there are towns in remote parts of India I've never heard of in my life who now have their own Robinhood Army chapters. So I think what's happened is social media has a big play in it. What we've realized is that, like, I think the last 5-6 years, there's been a huge penetration of digital and people getting online and coming on social media. And I think through that, because we're constantly sharing our story to different parts of India, the people who write into us saying that, can we start the Robinhood Army chapter? And we have a very dedicated, like 6 or 7 step process over 6 weeks to a month where they actually get inducted and they basically understand what are the levers to kind of grow the Robinhood Army. So we are in 150 cities. In my mind, that's not enough. I think we need to go to at least like 400, 500 cities. I think we need to go into like rural India where the need is the most. TBD how we think through that, but obviously it's a huge focus area.
Another question is like someone is asking what types of problem have you faced in the initial stage of the Robin Hood army?
No, very good question. Very good question. And can you also give the names of the people who are asking, just so that I can like
Yes, sir. Nitesh Shavan is asking.
Nitesh Ravan. Yeah, no, Nitesh, that's a very relevant question, and honestly, like problems never stop when you're building something. In fact, if there's a too long a phase where you're building something where there are no problems, then you should like really step back and think, is everything going all right?
Yes,
Because
sir.
like when you're scaling something, like you should always have problems in my mind. But
Hmm.
I think like the one fundamental piece, I think two things. One is time. all of this, all of us are balancing this with our careers.
Yes,
So
sir.
like we have very intense corporate careers. My co-founder Arushi, she reads her family business with her dad, which is like a good 3,000 employees, and she's doing that along with growing the Robin Hood Army, which has 60,000 members. So I think like if in a perfect world, we would love to do this 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. But obviously, we have to do something which pays the bills. We have to do. We also get a lot of fulfillment from our regular careers, and we there's so many things I've learned from Zomato or Google, which helps
Yes, sir.
me like build out the Robin Hood Army. So I think like, but obviously, like if we could spend more time on this, we'd love it. We spend all our weekends, we spend most weekday nights building this out, but obviously we could do more. So I think time is one way. And I think the other part is like I think over years, like initially it was people. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's an opportunity. Earlier it was people like us, young professionals uh, who are in that like probably like their first decade of their careers, who along with what they're doing wanted to do something like meaningful, who are joining the Robin Hood Army. Now there are young school students. Now there are retired
Yes, sir.
citizens. Now there are middle-aged folks. Now they're like and they brought a lot of depth into what we do. But obviously, like the more diverse an organization, the more clash in cultures. Like the way I probably talk to you all, I might not necessarily have the same tone with someone who's like probably 30 years my senior. So I
Yes.
think like right now there are a lot of nuances which we have to like factor into the Robin Hood Army. So I don't think of it as a challenge. I think of it more as an opportunity, but it's something which has brought in a new level of complexity which we need to navigate while we grow.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your time, sir. It's good to hear that someone is doing such a moral work. Thank you
No,
so
no,
much.
I think it's not rocket science. I think it's not someone. I think it's like 60,000 of us. I think forget outside the Robin Hood Army, a lot of us
Yes, sir.
people are doing great things. Again, it comes back to the same thing that like ambition does not nearly need to be your career. It can be your career and a bunch of other things. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
the only probably takeaway from this.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Have a good day, everyone, and thank you for having me here.
So it's time for our next session. We have Mr. Kevin Harrington joining few minutes. So just wait for some time. Let's have a look at the introductory video, Mr. Kevin Harrington. Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Are you ready for the video?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hold on one second. I'm just going to play it right now. All right, here we go. One second.
Meet
Sorry. Share screen. Okay.
Meet Kevin Harrington.
With over 500 products launched and generating over $5 billion in product sales in over 100 countries, Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, as seen on TV pioneer and original shark on the Emmy Award-winning TV show Shark Tank. Kevin creates
Meet Kevin Harrington.
with over 500 products launched and generating over $5 billion in product sales in over 100 countries, Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, as seen on TV pioneer and original shark on the Emmy Award-winning TV show Shark Tank. Kevin creates massive brands by combining great products with superstar talent like Kim Kardashian, 50 Cent, Kathy and Paris Hilton, Kris Jenner, CeeLo Green, George Foreman, Montel Williams, Jack LaLanne, Flo Rida, Hulk Hogan, Billy Mays, Paula Abdul, and Tony Little.
My brand now is worth over $3 billion. So my advice to everybody, if you even have an idea, you'd want to go to Kevin Harrington.
Brands that Kevin has helped launch include the Food Saver, Ginsu Knives, Flowbee, New Wave Oven, Ridex, Dual Drill, Dual Saw, V-Slicer, Harry Lorraine's Memory Power, iGrow Laser, Global, and Celsius. As a sought-after guest, Kevin has been featured on 2020, CNN, Fox Business, Bloomberg, Jim Cramer's The Street, MTV, Good Morning America, the CBS Morning News, The Today Show, CNBC Squawk Box, Entrepreneur, Fox and Friends, Donnie Deutsch, Big Idea, Bethany, The View, and The Daily Double on Jeopardy.
Now the last clue, back to the Shark Tank. I'm Kevin Harrington.
A renowned speaker, Kevin has appeared on stage for organizations like AT&T, Microsoft, United States Postal Service, Humana, 3M, FedEx, Auburn University, Harvard, and MIT. Kevin has authored several books, including Act Now, How I Turned Ideas into Million-Dollar Products, and the bestseller, How to Become a Key Person of Influence. As a global influencer, Kevin has thrown out the first pitch for the Tampa Bay Rays.
You know, I've known Kevin Harrington for several years. Kevin is a pioneer of the direct response industry and has risen to nearly iconic status over the years. I admire his vision and his drive, and I'm honored to call him both my business partner and my friend.
Kevin helped to found EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, and ERA, the Electronic Retailing Association, receiving their Lifetime Achievement Award. Kevin is now at the forefront of the digital marketing age, fast-tracking brand growth through creative campaigns for social media, automated sales funnels, conversion rate optimization, and explosive direct response techniques. Kevin's own media production company, Pitch Video, creates on-trend and disruptive digital marketing content and is leading the way in our expanding digital universe. An entrepreneur for over 40 years, Kevin has built 20 businesses to over $100 million each. That's why he's the original shark from Shark Tank, the billion-dollar man, Kevin Harrington. Let's give Kevin a warm welcome.
All right. Hey there. Thank you. Hey, so it's great to be here today, and I want to thank the organizers of our great event here to have me. I'm in the United States, and I'm looking forward to communicating a little bit today about some of my background. I'm going to start a quick little story about my early days as an entrepreneur, because I used to be a young entrepreneur. Now I consider myself to be an old entrepreneur. I've been 40 years building businesses, but it started, I actually had a mentor when I was 11 years old. The picture on the far left there, my father was my first mentor, and I worked in his restaurants. Originally, he was just a bartender, and he saved up enough money to open his first Irish pub called Harrington's. And so at 11 years old, I worked there. Then I started a driveway sealing business when I got into high school, and a heating and air conditioning company when I got into college. So I wanted to get into something more business oriented. So I sold those businesses, and I launched something called the Small Business Center. I leased the whole floor of an office building, and this was in 1980. So this was 40 years ago when I did this, and I opened up a whole floor of an office building, and I rented space, much like you see today with shared office spaces like WeWorks and GoWorks, places like that. I rented space to a lawyer, to an insurance agent, to an accounting company, to advertising, graphic design, legal services, all the different services required to help small business owners succeed. So you could walk into the small business center and you could get help from any one of the different business advisors that we had put there. Again, this was like a mentoring type of a place, a one-stop center for advice for your business. And this worked so well that Entrepreneur Magazine approached me and said, hey, we're going to put you on the cover. And this is back in the early 80s, but they also said, let's open these all around the country. So we franchised these Entrepreneur Magazine small business centers across the United States. So make a long story short, this was very exciting, but still this is before I had actually gotten into the as seen on TV space. And let me tell you a quick story there. And then what I'm going to share with you today is what I have learned about pitching. And I've taken tens of thousands of pitches now over the last 40 plus years. Shark Tank, I've taken a lot of pitches, but we're going to talk about the steps to creating a perfect pitch. So, but real quick, the story was one day I was watching my television and I was watching Discovery Channel, and all of a sudden the screen went dark, and then there was colored bars on the screen, and they were there for 6 hours. So I called the cable company and I said, what's going on? I'm not getting any TV right now. And they said, Discovery is only on 18 hours a day. 6 hours a day is going to be just these colored bars. And that's when the light bulb went off. And I thought, what can I put on Discovery and fill this downtime, right? So I used to go to a lot of trade shows. I was doing all of these investments with small businesses at the time in the Small Business Center. And so I was at the Philadelphia Home Show right around the same time. And there was a gentleman had a knife in his hand. He would cut through a can. He would cut through a pair of sneakers, through a big thick rope, through a piece of steel. And I'm thinking, what is he doing with this knife? And he was calling it the Ginsu knife. Now, I don't know if many of you have ever heard of the Ginsu, but this is something way back in the early 80s. I watched this and I thought to myself, wait a minute, that presentation was so good. Maybe we could put it on the Discovery Channel if I filmed it. And that's what we did. This was the birth of the modern day infomercial. And here is the clip that we shot from the early days.
You take a tomato, the weight of the knife alone cuts that tomato. Let me ask you something. How many knives you have at home this sharp? You could drop the tomato on top. Pretty sharp, right? You know what one young lady said? Can you cut them thin? I said, thin. One tomato will last you all week long.
So my concept for marketing was to take other people's products, other people's videos, and shoot these videos and then put them on the downtime of television. And this is what we did for the last 40 years. In fact, this product, the Ginsu, ended up becoming so successful. I call it the world's first viral video. It created a business of over $500 million in sales. And so this was the beginning. This was the early 80s. And of course, if it worked in the United States, we said, hey, let's take it around the world. Maybe it'll work in other parts of the world, Latin America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Middle East, etc. And so my first visit to India was actually in the early 90s when I came over there to investigate doing business and putting products up. And so we took these around the world, and this is an example of how we did it. We dubbed into the local language.
Strak maken, neer. Met spanning omhoog, dat is het enige wat je hoeft te doen. Gaat is dat niets? Dat is het enige wat je moet doen om de rechterbuikspieren te isoleren. Wat is die grafiek daar beneden? Dat is de grafiek, die laat je 30 seconden per oefening op begin.
This is Tony Little in Dutch. So we would take a US infomercial shot in English and dub it into dozens and dozens of languages for all around the world. And we started doing this in the early 80s. This became a very successful business. We went public on the New York Stock Exchange, and the stock went from $1 a share to over $20 a share. And so that's when I got the phone call from Mark Burnett. And Mark Burnett said, hey, Kevin, I'm watching all these great products that you're selling. I'm doing a new show called Shark Tank. I'd like to have you on the show. So I went out, met with Mark, and then I shot the pilot of Shark Tank in the first 175 segments, and it's been on the air now for over 11 years, and we're now a global brand all around the world. So this is all the really good stuff so far that I've been talking about. And I'm going to ask a question to those of you that are listening right now. How many of you do you think are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs? Like, yeah, let me see. Just raise your hand where you are right now and tell me, do you want to be an entrepreneur, right? I'm going to tell you that sometimes things get tough. Sometimes it's not always the way you want it. And in my case, things started happening in a negative way at this particular time. And I'm going to tell you what I did to prevent disaster, because here I was the creator of the As Seen on TV business, but the people were starting to leave the television. 56 million people just in the United States have cut the cord and left television. In fact, there's been a 50% decline in television viewership in just the United States. It's happening all around the world, though. So here I was, the creator of this business that was putting products on television, but now television was being disrupted. And this is why I say that it's important as entrepreneurs that we seek mentors. We need to get mentors in our life. Tony Robbins was a mentor to me, and he taught me a lot about creating messaging on a global basis. Richard Branson, I went down to Necker Island and was with Richard Branson for a weekend. This other gentleman, Russell Brunson, created ClickFunnels. He's created an amazing business and has been very, very successful. And so I started seeking mentors because I needed help and ideas, and I needed to change the direction of what we were doing. But beyond that, let's talk about some of the things that are happening out in the world right now with COVID pandemic. This has changed everything about how we do business. And so I sat with some of the greatest mentors in the world. And it's no secret that the net worth of America's billionaires is surging during these difficult times. And this is because the kind of people that you can get great advice from have an inside track to where things are going. In fact, ultimately, what's happened here is for many of us, I needed to create sort of a new direction, a new pitch, and a new step to the next process. So what I'm saying is, and this is where I want to start sharing some of the things that I learned about pitching, because many people would come on Shark Tank and not know how to pitch. And so I believe that it's so important to learn how to pitch. In fact, I'm going to be sharing with you the 10 steps of the perfect pitch today, but let's just talk about it. Why do you need a perfect pitch? Maybe you're building a website. Maybe you're writing a great press release. Maybe you're launching a book, or maybe you want some celebrities to join your team, right? Maybe you want to raise some capital, like it says at the very bottom. Get investors and raise money. So I'm going to talk about this. We're going to talk about pitching. We're going to talk about raising capital a little bit here in the final minutes of what I have to discuss, because the 10 steps to a perfect pitch is near and dear to me. And this is what I want to be able to help everybody here today, because it's very important. Now, I'm going to rifle through these very quickly. I could spend hours teaching pitching, but the first step to the perfect pitch is getting their attention. If you don't have the attention of the person you're pitching, you're not going to make an effective pitch. Now, here's a product that somebody brought in my office, and I'm going to show you what they did to get my attention. Watch this. I call it the $1 billion sound because when they put this in front of me, it got my attention and I wanted to listen. Watch this. So when somebody put this in front of me, I said, what is that? It's crushing a Coca-Cola can right in front of me. That is very powerful. What is it? This is called the Food Saver. This was back in the early 80s. We did the infomercial and it became a $1 billion success because the power of getting my attention was right there when they crushed that can. This is a product that is used to reseal leftovers and different types of frozen things for your freezer, et cetera, et cetera. And it makes lots of extra life for your food products in the fridge and in the freezer. But this got my attention. So that's the first step. You got to get their attention. Number two, solve a problem. And here's a great example of a problem solver. It's a product called OxyClean. You may have seen this. This was a huge success in the United States. Watch this. This is a problem solver. So first get their attention, next solve the problem.
Laundry detergent doesn't remove all stains, and bleach may whiten your whites, but it's a disaster if you spill it on dark clothes. But there is an easy way to fight stains and whiten your laundry. OxyClean Stain Fighter. Just pour it in the wash to remove stains and double your detergent's whitening power. OxyClean, safe for your clothes, even colors. Nothing is better to remove stains, brighten colors, and whiten whites. I promise you won't miss the stains.
And for on-the-go stain removal, look for our instant stain remover.
So that's number two, is solve a problem. Get their attention, solve a problem, but you need to position it uniquely. Is your product or service unique enough such that no other product or service solves the problem in a similar fashion? And so when you look at a product like the George Foreman grill, most grills were just flat grills. They created something very unique. They slanted the grill so that the grease could drain off, and it uniquely grilled the burgers with less fat, and it was called the Lean Mean Grilling Machine. So this one change from, instead of a flat grill, uniquely positioned to slant to drip the grease off, created another amazing success. This is step three, unique positioning. Again, step one, get their attention. Step two, solve a problem. Step three, unique positioning. Step four, hit the mass market. When Tony Little was first selling this amazing Gazelle, it was very expensive and it looked like it was focused only towards really high-end fitness people. But when we opened it up to the masses, the mass market, and brought people on set, we had fun with it. It was young and old and fun. Watch this.
Working my buttocks. If I lean forward, I'm working my chest. I'm working my triceps. I'm working the back of my calves. And I'm working my heart and I'm working my lungs.
Make it more mass market. And now you're on step four of the perfect pitch. Step five is how do you demonstrate the product in the process? Here's making something demonstrationable. Demonstrable is the key to persuasion. It's the lifeblood of videos, and it shows the capability. So, for example, watch this gentleman that creates an amazing demonstration.
Hi, it's Vince with ShamWow. You'll be saying wow every time you use this towel. Look at this. It just does the work. Doesn't drip. Doesn't make a mess. Wring it out. This works wet or dry. Here's some cola. Wine, coffee, cola. Look at this. Put on the spill. Turn it over. Without even putting any pressure, 50% of the cola right there. You following me, camera guy? No other towel's going to do that. It acts like a vacuum. And look at this. Virtually dry on the bottom.
Available at ShamWowCanada.com and these fine retailers.
Pretty amazing, making demonstrations. That's number five. Number six, how do you add multifunctionality to the product? This is a product that's called the Cool Box. It's a cooler, but it's got a whiteboard. It's got an integrated power bar that you can charge your cell phone. You can plug tools into this if you like, USB ports, storage command, Bluetooth speakers. It's an entertainment center. So again, adding functions is something that also is very powerful when pitching. Number 7, I love this one. It's magical transformation. How do you create something before and after? And when you think about magical transformations, this is a personal trainer. Proactive is an acne product. You've seen these kinds of things before and after. When you show magical transformations, you're showing the power of the product. And also, as we move along here, number 8 is research and competitive analysis. It's always important because we found a product called the Slanket was selling at $39.95, but we found that it had been selling very well. And then the Snuggie was able to launch at $19.95 by doing research of what was out in the marketplace. Okay. So now when you're pitching, one of the things that people also want to know, and here we are at number 9, they want to know about testimonials. Do people like this product that are already using it, right? So one thing that's important, and a lot of folks don't know this, that there's actually 5 different types of testimonials. The first one is a consumer testimonial, someone that's using the product. So in the case of a closet organizing service, here is the before, here is the after. That's the first type of testimonial, is a consumer. The second type of testimonial is a professional, maybe a doctor or a lawyer, or here, someone that, this is in the case of a fishing product, these are Bassmaster champions that have won the fishing tournament using this lure. They are professionals. They're not just average fishermen. These are professional fishermen that have used a lure to win the tournament, doctors and lawyers. And there's also celebrity testimonials. There's also editorial testimonials like Wall Street Journal, newspapers, magazines, right? And then there are clinical testimonials. So the 5 different types of testimonials, again, starting from the beginning, you've got consumer testimonial, you've got a professional testimonial, you've got a celebrity testimonial, you've got an editorial newspaper testimonial, or a clinical testing lab. These are 5 different types of testimonials. When you're pitching, it's good to be able to use other people's views on your product or your service or your business. And this is the 5th type. Now, we've talked about 9 steps so far to a perfect pitch. It doesn't end unless you have an irresistible offer. This is the most important thing, is I must be able to create something irresistible. People want to know and understand. I mean, here's a great offer. Here's 25 pieces of knives for 3 payments of $13. This is an amazing deal. You get all of that right there. All the knives, the storage place to put all of them for $39.95. This is an amazing deal. I mean, here's another example of the irresistible offer, the Brazilian butt lift. Look at all of that stuff you get for $10. When you're creating an irresistible offer, folks want to know that this is powerful. And I say, oftentimes, we've talked about the 10 steps to the perfect pitch. Well, yes, guess what? There's going to be more, but wait, now that you've had 10, but wait, there's more. I'm going to give you one more step because it's important that you also cover the numbers. When you're pitching and you're getting to investors, they want to know the numbers also. Yes, they want to know, do you have proof of concept? Do you have sales traction? What does it cost to acquire a customer? We call that the CAC, the CAC, customer acquisition cost, the cost to acquire a customer. And what is the average order value or the lifetime value of this average customer, right? This is important because when you're pitching investors, they want to know, do you know anything about your business? Do you know the numbers? Do you know what the proceeds are going to be? And this is something that too many people actually don't know, and that is a problem. So you need to know your numbers, you need to know the profit margins, etc. And I think it's important for me to tell you about a group of people from India. They came here to the United States. They gave me a perfect pitch to get involved with them. And now I'm an investor in one of my first business enterprises in India. And this is something that we call the New Shop. The New Shop is something very exciting for me because this is not only brick and mortar, and we're in railway stations and colleges and universities and many places all across India, but we also have online stores also that are just starting to take off. In fact, I love to talk about people that give a perfect pitch because this was going to be a new age retail, products made in India, brick and mortar stores, many functions of the physical store, but also distribution hubs where you can order online and pick up and drive to online stores as well. So the New Shop has an e-commerce platform that enables hyper local tie-ups. And so this is the next generation of the world that we all live in now, because as we've seen online stores kick in, this is a mix of brick and mortar and online. And we feel this is why this is very powerful. And this is a business model that I was excited about, I invested in, and I'm here to say that we've got great opportunities for the future because we're not only creating made in India products that we're selling through our distribution, but we are also exporting the best of made in India products to around the world. So we're driving distribution for new age brands in lifestyle, health, and wellness, many, many different kinds of products. And we're also bringing some of the best products from the United States back to India. So I'm very, very excited about all the things that I'm doing in India. And I am mentoring the folks here into building this into the large business model that we are creating together. So this is one of the things that I'm excited about. I started as an entrepreneur 40 years ago here in the United States. I'm now on a global basis making investments, but India is one of my very powerful markets that I want to talk about. And I just want to wrap up by saying a few things. And also I have, I was getting a lot of phone calls from folks in India. They heard about my new book that's coming out. So I want to just tell you about that, because one of the things that I have talked quite a bit about here today is how I've had some amazing mentors in my life. And it started when I was 11 years old. My father was my first mentor. He said, own your own business, son. You need to get out. And I opened up a driveway sealing business, then a heating and air conditioning business. Then I opened up the small business centers. Then I got into As Seen on TV and created a global brand in the As Seen on TV space. But now, as a shark investor on Shark Tank, I'm now mentoring select people. And I want to teach you how to get the right mentor. And maybe it might be me, because with the right mentor, you can multiply your efforts, your time, your profits, your relationships, and harness the power of failing fast, because sometimes entrepreneurs are going to fail. That's okay. Fail fast and then supercharge your business from there. So with getting the right mentor, you're going to be able to shortcut your way to success. And I believe this is why the folks from New Shop came to me in the United States, because we had a lot of value. We had a lot of product flow we could bring to the table. And I actually have an 8-part success framework that I implement in each and every one of my business ventures. So I just want to say this. I have a new book coming out. I'm glad I had a chance to share with you some of the things today. My new book is called Mentor to Millions. And I'm not here to sell books, but this is a great thing because beyond the book itself, you can mentortomillionsbook.com. Beyond the book itself, there's so many different things that we're putting together with this book. I say, but wait, there's more, because when you go to mentortomillionsbook.com/Bombay, for those 846 rupees, you're going to get the audiobook free. You're going to get instant access to the first part of the book, a month of mentorship right from us. We're going to give you 30 days of free mentorship, launch parties, virtual launch parties, golden tickets to mentorships, and we're very, very excited. So I just wanted to be able to introduce this to the population there. We've been looking forward to coming back to India in the near future. I've been there many, many times and was just there last year in the kickoff of New Shop. I just want to say that if you're ready to really finally achieve balance and success professionally and fulfillment and purpose personally, then you receive over $1,000 worth of products and links and mentorship and audiobooks, etc. So I just want to thank you. I hope you have a chance to check that out. And I know we're short of time here, and I said I'm going to wrap up right around this time. I just want to say this. When we've talked about pitching, we've talked about getting investors. I want to share just one last tip with you, because the old way that I used to do things for many, many years, the old culture was a few channels that broadcast to millions. This is Rupert Murdoch. He was the founder of Fox, the CEO of Fox. He has since sold Fox to Disney now, and he's gone. And this was the old way. It was a few channels that went out to millions and millions of people. That's the old way. It's no longer working. I mean, it's too expensive. This was the old as seen on TV way. The new way is millions of channels that broadcast to a few. And this is important. And this is the wave of the future. And this is how we're marketing, because we used to be on TV only. We're now on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on all the different local channels and many, many direct distribution channels. And this is what we're doing with New Shop in India, is not just brick and mortar, but also online channels, best products from India, curated from India, that we then take around the world, and having great fun and success. So I know that many of you are looking at being an entrepreneur. And when I asked the question, how many want to be an entrepreneur? I hope many of your hands went up in your homes or your businesses. And I just want to say thank you for listening to me. Thank you for wanting to be an entrepreneur. And if there's any doubt, I am here to mentor you. I am here to help you. We would be glad to do everything we can to help you take your business to the next level. But I just have my friend Tony Little, my fitness buddy, the Gazelle. I had him record a few words of wisdom and encouragement for those that might be on the fence. I don't know how strong you are right now in your belief of your ability to be an entrepreneur and to be a successful entrepreneur, but this is what Tony Little has to say for each and every one of you.
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
That's how I want to close. You can do it. You can be the biggest and you can be the best. Get the right mentor, and we're going to teach you how to do that. So thank you very much. And I really have enjoyed my presentation and glad to be able to connect with many of you in India. And thanks for having me, and God bless. Be good. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful session, sir. It's really good to see how can we use general ideas into our pitch and make it more effective. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir, we have a couple of questions over there. Like someone is asking, which is the right time for funding? I think we have lost, sir. Okay. So thank you everyone for being such a wonderful audience, and don't forget to join our networking launch. Thank you.